college seniors had a rethink when they found out the student they had been bullying is a black belt holder. Before we dive into today's story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The first time they cornered Malik, he barely flinched. It was outside the library, late in the evening, the campus mostly empty except for a few students rushing to finish their assignments. Malik had been walking alone when Ethan, Ryan, and Connor, three of the most notorious seniors in their fraternity, stepped in his path. "Hey, fresh meat," Ethan sneered, blocking Malik's way. He was the ringleader, cocky and brash, with a smirk that never quite reached his cold blue eyes. Malik sighed, but didn't step back. "Excuse me." "Excuse you?" Ryan laughed, shoving Malik's shoulder just enough to make a point. "You think you're too good to talk to us?" Connor, the quietest of the three, chuckled under his breath. Unlike the others, he rarely initiated anything, but he never stopped it either. Malik adjusted his backpack and met Ethan's gaze. "I don't have time for this." Ethan's smirk widened. "Oh, you hear that, boys? Too busy for us. What's your deal, huh? Always walking around like you're better than everyone else? You don't even talk to people." Ryan snorted. "Yeah. What are you, some kind of loner genius or just scared?" Malik didn't react. He had dealt with people like them before, guys who thrived on control, on intimidation. He had learned long ago that giving them a reaction only fed their fire. "Whatever," he muttered, stepping past them. But as he walked away, he heard Ethan call out, "We'll be seeing you around, freshman." Malik knew it wasn't over. Over the next few weeks, it became routine. They tripped him when he walked past in the cafeteria, snickering as he caught himself. They knocked books out of his hands in the hallway, pretending it was an accident. Once, Ethan even took his notebook in class and read his notes out loud in a mocking voice until the professor made him stop. Each time, Malik stayed silent. It wasn't because he was afraid. It was because he knew his power. He had spent 10 years training in martial arts, earning his black belt in karate by the time he was 16. He had competed in national tournaments, faced off against some of the toughest opponents in his division. He knew exactly how much damage he could do, how easily he could shut them down. But fighting back wasn't always about fists. So he let them laugh, let them believe they had the upper hand. Until one night, everything changed. The frat boys were throwing a party, their house overflowing with students. The music was deafening, the air thick with the smell of cheap beer and sweat. Malik had only come to drop off a book for his friend Luis, who had forgotten it in the library. He wasn't the type to party, and he had planned to be in and out in less than 5 minutes. But as he was leaving, he heard Ethan's voice. Well, look who finally decided to have some fun." Malik turned. Ethan, Ryan, and Connor were lounging by the stairs, drinks in hand. "Not my scene," Malik said simply. Ethan exchanged a glance with Ryan, then grinned. "Oh, come on, don't be like that. We've been meaning to have a little chat with you." Malik knew where this was going, but before he could step away, Ryan grabbed his arm. "What's the rush?" Malik's expression darkened. He didn't like being touched. "Let go." His voice was calm, controlled. Ryan snickered. "What if I don't?" And then Ethan made a mistake. He shoved Malik, hard. A quiet hush fell over the group. A few nearby students noticed, some whispering, some watching with mild amusement. No one expected Malik to do anything. He had been their silent target for weeks. But Ethan had no idea what he had just unleashed. Malik exhaled slowly. He had spent weeks holding back. He had let them believe he was weak. That illusion was about to shatter. And as he straightened his posture, meeting Ethan's gaze with an unsettling calmness, a single thought crossed his mind. The moment Ethan shoved him, Malik made a choice. Not to fight. Not yet. But to stop pretending. His stance shifted ever so slightly, subtle but precise. Feet planted, weight centered, muscles relaxed but ready. Anyone trained in martial arts would have noticed. But to Ethan, Ryan, and Connor, it meant nothing. They still thought he was weak. They were about to learn the truth. Ethan took a step closer, his smirk widening. "What's the matter, Malik? You look tense." Ryan laughed, encouraged by Ethan's bravado. Maybe he's scared. Malik wasn't scared. He was calculating. "I told you to let go," he said, his voice steady as he looked at Ryan's hand gripping his sleeve. Ryan tightened his hold. "Or what?" Malik didn't answer. Instead, in one swift motion, he twisted his wrist free with a technique so seamless that Ryan barely understood what happened. His fingers uncurled involuntarily, as if Malik had used magic. Ryan frowned. "What the?" Malik took a step back, his movements controlled. "I don't want trouble. he said, "but I'm done being your punching bag." Ethan scoffed. "And what are you gonna do about it?" Malik met his gaze, unblinking. "Walk away, Ethan." That was the moment. The moment everything could have ended. The moment Ethan could have laughed it off, let his ego take a small bruise, and moved on. But pride was a dangerous thing. Ethan chuckled and took a swing. A sloppy, untrained punch, fueled by arrogance and alcohol. Malik sighed. He had given them a chance. With effortless precision, he sidestepped and grabbed Ethan's wrist in midair. In one fluid motion, he redirected Ethan's momentum, using his own force against him. Ethan stumbled forward, completely off balance, and Malik guided him downward, controlling the fall so he landed hard on the ground. The party went silent. No one had ever seen Ethan on the floor before. Ryan and Connor froze. Their friend, the self-proclaimed alpha, was sprawled on his back, blinking in confusion. Malik let go and took a step back. "I warned you." Ethan scrambled to his feet, his face burning with humiliation. He rushed at Malik again, this time with pure aggression. It was over in seconds. Malik sidestepped, hooked Ethan's arm, and used his own momentum to flip him onto his back. The impact was loud enough that people gasped. Ethan groaned, staring up at the ceiling, breath knocked out of him. Ryan and Connor didn't move. They had no idea what they were up against. And then, the whispering started. He took Ethan down like it was nothing. What the hell just happened? Did you see that? He barely even tried. Malik adjusted his bag. "Are we done?" Ethan didn't answer. He was too busy gasping for air. Ryan, who had been so eager to taunt him before, suddenly looked unsure. "Dude, what was that?" Malik turned to him, his expression unreadable. "It's called discipline." And with that he walked away, leaving behind the stunned crowd, the fallen king, and a silence heavier than any punch. But he knew this wasn't over. Not yet. By Monday morning, the entire campus was talking about what happened at the party. The once feared Ethan had been humiliated, not just knocked down, but effortlessly outmaneuvered, taken apart like an amateur. And the worst part? He hadn't even landed a single hit. People whispered in the hallways. I heard Malik barely even tried. Dude, he flipped Ethan like he weighed nothing. Apparently, he's a black belt. He could have wrecked them if he wanted to. Ethan heard every word. His jaw clenched as he walked through campus, his usual confident strut now replaced with stiff, controlled movements. He ignored the stares, the smirks, the way people looked at him differently now. Ryan and Connor kept their distance too. They hadn't spoken much since the party, their silence a quiet confirmation of the shift in power. But Ethan wasn't done. Not yet. "What's the plan, man?" Ryan asked hesitantly that afternoon in the frat house. Ethan's knuckles turned white as he gripped the edge of the counter. "We remind him who's in charge." Ryan hesitated. "Dude, I don't know. Malik's different. This isn't some nerd we can push around." Ethan's eyes darkened. "So what? You want to let some freshman embarrass us?" Connor, who had been quiet the whole time, finally spoke. "Look, man, maybe we just let it go." Ethan spun to face him. "Let it go?" He scoffed. "Do you have any idea what people are saying? If we don't handle this, no one's going to take us seriously anymore." Ryan exchanged a nervous glance with Connor. "So, what are we supposed to do?" Ethan's lips curled into a cold smirk. "We don't fight him. We break him." Malik had expected some kind of retaliation. Guys like Ethan didn't just take a loss and move on. But he hadn't expected them to go after someone else. It happened on Wednesday evening. Luis, Malik's closest friend on campus, was leaving the library when two guys from Ethan's frat shoved him into a side alley. They weren't Ethan, Ryan, or Connor, but they worked under them, the kind of guys who followed orders. By the time Malik got the call from Luis, he was already nursing a bloody lip. "They said it was a warning," Luis muttered, pressing an ice pack against his face when Malik found him outside his dorm. "They told me to tell you that if you ever humiliate Ethan again, you won't be the only one paying for it." Malik's hands clenched into fists. His whole body went still. This wasn't just some childish bullying anymore. This was a line they shouldn't have crossed. And now, Malik had a choice. He had always believed that discipline was stronger than violence. That real strength wasn't about fighting. It was about knowing when not to. But now they were hurting people who had nothing to do with this. And that he couldn't ignore. The next evening, Malik found Ethan in the gym. Ryan and Connor were there too, spotting Ethan as he lifted weights. They all went quiet when they saw him. Malik didn't bother with pleasantries. "We need to talk." Ethan sat up slowly, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Oh yeah?" he said, voice dripping with mockery. "About what?" Malik stepped closer. His tone was calm, but there was an edge to it now, sharp and unyielding. "I don't care what you do to me, but you don't touch my friends." Ethan chuckled. "Or what?" Malik held his gaze. "Try it again, and I promise you'll find out." Ethan stood, squaring up, but for the first time there was hesitation in his movements, because now he knew. Malik wasn't afraid. He had never been afraid. And for the first time, Ethan was starting to wonder if he should be. Ryan and Connor exchanged nervous glances. The room was thick with tension, an unspoken challenge hanging in the air. Then Ethan laughed. A forced, hollow sound. "You think you scare me?" Malik didn't blink. "No. But you know I can end this anytime I want." Ethan's jaw tensed. His fingers curled into fists. But he didn't swing this time. He knew better. And Malik knew that meant he had already won. Malik could have ended it right there. Ethan knew he couldn't win. Ryan and Connor had already checked out, their loyalties shaken. The balance had shifted. But there was something about guys like Ethan, something that wouldn't let them just walk away. So, when Ethan showed up at the dojo the next evening, Malik wasn't surprised. He was, however, disappointed. The martial arts center was nearly empty by the time Malik arrived for his evening training. He had told himself to let it go, to walk away like he always had. But then Ethan was there, standing in the middle of the mat, waiting. No crowd, no frat brothers, no audience, just the two of them. Malik sighed, setting his gym bag down. "You really want to do this?" Ethan's jaw was tight. His eyes burned with something Malik couldn't quite place. Pride, anger, maybe even desperation. "You humiliated me," he said, voice low. "In front of everyone." Malik studied him. "No. You did that to yourself." Ethan took a step forward. "Fight me." Malik exhaled. "You're not my enemy, Ethan." Ethan sneered. "What, you scared now?" Malik chuckled, shaking his head. "No, I just don't fight people who have nothing to lose." Ethan lunged. This time, Malik didn't step aside. In one smooth motion, he deflected Ethan's punch, twisted his arm behind his back, and swept his legs out from under him. Ethan hit the mat hard, breath knocked from his lungs. He groaned, trying to get up, but Malik placed a knee on his back, pinning him down effortlessly. "You think fighting is about power?" Malik said, voice quiet but firm, "about who throws the hardest punch." "It's not." Ethan struggled, but Malik didn't let him up. "Fighting is about control," Malik continued. "And you have none." Ethan let out a frustrated growl. "Get off me." Malik leaned in slightly. "Not until you listen." Ethan stilled. "You've spent years bullying people because it made you feel strong," Malik said. "Because it made you feel like you mattered." He paused, then added, "But the truth is, Ethan, you don't even believe that yourself." Ethan's breathing was ragged, his muscles tense, but he wasn't fighting back anymore. Slowly, Malik released him, stepping away. Ethan sat up, looking lost. Malik watched him for a long moment before turning to leave. But then, wait. Malik stopped. Ethan swallowed hard, staring at the floor. His voice was barely above a whisper. How do you stay so in control?" Malik considered him for a moment. Then, he walked back and extended a hand. Ethan hesitated. Then, for the first time in his life, he took it. Word spread fast. People still whispered about what had happened. But something changed. The bullying stopped. The frat house quieted down. And Ethan? He wasn't the same. He never became Malik's friend. They weren't suddenly close, but he started nodding in acknowledgement when they passed each other. He stopped trying to prove something. And one evening, weeks later, Malik spotted Ethan at the dojo, standing outside, watching. Malik smiled to himself. Maybe, just maybe, the real fight had never been against Malik at all. Maybe Ethan had just been fighting himself this whole time. And maybe now, he was finally ready to stop. Sometimes the strongest person in the room isn't the loudest or the most aggressive. It's the one who knows when to fight and when to walk away. This story isn't just about a black belt student standing up to bullies. It's about breaking the cycle and proving that real strength comes from within. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another powerful lesson.